Hi, my name is Mariah Leal, and I'd like to speak with you for a few minutes about our children. Everyone can agree that growing up in this day and age is a lot different from the time we grew up. There were not as many things to worry about. Kids could play out in the yard, out in the street with their friends, and we didn't have as many of the dangers and whatnot that we have now. And there's a lot of things that we don't have control over, but there are some things that we do. I mean, today, children face bullying, they face, there's a lot more single parent homes, there's a lot more latchkey kids than when we grew up, and then there's the more serious issues to deal with: drugs, alcohol, abductions, things like that. And some of these are out of control, some of them out of our control, some of them are, we can do our best to protect our children. And I'm here to talk to you about another danger that faces children that we can do something about. And that is the fact that in the US, more than half the dog bites that occur here involve children. And we want to definitely cut down on that. There are 43 million households in the US that own dogs. Um, and that is a lot of dogs. So, what I'm trying to do is educate children on dog safety and why these things like training, socializing, etc., are important. And before a head on collision left me disabled, I did work in the animal field. And I was a veterinary technician. I was a professional groomer with my own grooming shop, and I did obedience training. And during those times, I dealt with a lot of different types of dogs. And some of them were great dogs to work with. They, no matter what you did to them, they just kind of rolled over and said, do what you have to. Others were not so good. People who, whether they adopted or whether they purchased a dog from as a puppy from a breeder, they didn't train and socialize the dog. And if you don't do these things while the puppy is young, you're going to run into a lot of problems. And some dogs become what they call fear biters. And those are dogs that they're lacking in self-confidence. They haven't been exposed to much growing up. And what happens is they get fearful, and you don't know with them whether they're going to try to hide or whether they're going to, when you least expect it, bite you out of fear. And it's not out of viciousness, it's out of fear. For me, it would be easier to deal with an aggressive dog because they are predictable. Dogs that lack confidence and are fear biters are way less predictable. So, but overall, my experiences working with animals in the different fields that I did was just wonderful to me. And I wouldn't have given it up for anything except that I had to due to the head on collision. So while I was waiting to get the verdict on whether I was going to be able to start, go back to work or start working part time, I decided to, update my knowledge and expertise by going to college online for my veterinary technician degree. At the time I was a vet tech, they did not need to be licensed. And when it came to the point that I was going to have to go to a vet's office and do a practicum where they would film me doing the different procedures and things, I was told you can't work anymore. And it was devastating. But Piper came into my life. I had been around dogs since I was 6 months old. And my first dog was 3 months old when I was 6 months old. So we grew up together. I came from a single parent home. I was a latchkey kid before they had a name for it. And I had no siblings. So my dog, Happy, was everything to me. Playmate, my confidant, my protector, everything. And with the training I had and the expertise from working in the different fields with animals, when Piper came into my life, I was training her and doing what I usually do with my puppies. And I also keep a log on them, probably due to the fact that I didn't have kids. I do a puppy book instead of a baby book. But for some reason on Piper's, I did a lot more detail. And she, dealing with how we dealt with a fear that she had or something that she was uncomfortable with and how we dealt with that. And one night I was looking over everything and I said, wow, this would be a great book for kids. Well, it turned into a 5-book series. It's nonfiction. We use photographs instead of little cutesy characters in it because I want the children to see the real things. So it's told through Piper's eyes, which makes it a delightful story, but it is a nonfiction story. So the 5-book series did well. I realized then that in addition to the books, I developed my own PowerPoint program to do presentations at libraries, boys and girls clubs, schools, etc. And this way I could focus more on certain points in the books. And a lot of people impulse buy, and that's not good. So, because you need to research. Owning a dog really begins before you bring the puppy home. It has to fit into your lifestyle, and that's why the second part of our goal, along with cutting down on dog bites with children, is to keep dogs out of shelters by educating children and their families that they need to find a dog that fits in with their lifestyle. If they're not going to be home a lot, they don't need an active dog. They need one that's more laid back, more of a couch potato. But getting back to why I'm here, I'm doing this GoFundMe campaign because I have written another book, a follow-up book to the series, and it shows a lot of what Piper and I have done. We've done presentations here on Long Island as well as up in central New York, and I have to get that book published. I also need to get my message out there. I want to go nationwide with my message, and I have to get out of my little corner here of Long Island with more marketing, and I can't do that without the funds. And being on disability has been very difficult for me to get the other books published. And now I have this book that I need to have go to print by the end of October so that it can come out this year. And also have the funds for marketing to get our message nationwide eventually. I need to do more a lot more of that. So I need marketing materials as well as fees for events and things like that. So what I'm really asking you for is to support our cause. I am very grateful that Piper came into my life and gave me a way to stay in a field that I love. And not only am I helping animals at this point, I'm helping children as well. And that's very important to me. I've put my heart and soul into this. I have put everything I have into this. And all I'm asking is to be part of our mission to help educate our children and their families, be a voice for the animals that can't speak for themselves, and let's cut down on these dog bites with children and the number of dogs that go to shelters for no reason except that they were not the proper breed for the family or they were not trained and socialized. So I'm just going to ask you, listen to my video, and I thank you for taking the time to do that, and help if you can, and be part of this mission, and you'll feel good that you're doing something to educate our children and continue with dog safety, and also then they can reap the benefits of having a dog. There's lots of things you can do. Charity walks for human and canine causes. You could take your dogs on those. There's tons of competitions that are just fun competitions you can get into, and serious competing if you want. But there's a lot that you can do. But the best thing is they're family members, and children need to learn respect for dogs, and dogs need to learn the respect for the family and where they belong in the family. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope to see you at one of the presentations or maybe at my book signing when the next book comes out, Piper, A Dog with a Mission. Thank you.